Everybody, hope you're all well. Welcome to Sniper Sundays. Hope you've all had a great weekend. I'm going to get straight into it tonight because we have lots to cover, as always in Sniper Sundays. So I'm going to get straight into it and have a look at what we've got coming up this week and also review some of last week's price action. So first off, I'm going to start with Euro USD, jump into this, and I'm going to run over and explain what happened on Friday. So on Friday, I put a message into the group just before non-farm payroll and basically explained what we could expect to see, and then price actually played out to the T from that analysis. So I'm just going to go back to the weekly chart and just sort of recap. So Euro USD, big rejection from the lows down here, as explained 2 weeks ago. That once we saw a rejection from here, that we're going to create a new weekly, daily low down here. And once we saw a rejection from here, it was going to be a big rejection. We've done it in 2 weeks. We came up and we've broken above this highlighted level that I've highlighted on last Sniper Sundays, explaining, or during the week, explaining that this level is important because with price breaking and closing above that level, it now confirms that this trend is now broken. So obviously we broke the trend line, but until we broke the last lower high, we hadn't confirmed that this trend was broken. So you can see here this downtrend all the way down, low lows, lower highs, low lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, made a lower low. Now we come up and we've broken this lower high here and confirmed this uptrend. So what we can expect now is to come down and make a new higher low on this new uptrend. So price needs to come down, make a new higher low, has to come down lower in order to then move up higher. So what we're going to be doing is concentrating on that this week. And I'm going to just explain what I explained on Friday. So what we can see here, this has happened many times on Euro USD. And once I explain it now, for those who've been in the group for quite some time, we'll have seen this happen a few times before as well. What we often see on Euro USD is early in the week, we can see a move start. So we can see here, I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, so this was Monday's move here. Monday came up, made a move. Tuesday played around at this area, and Wednesday played around at that area. So the start of the week has come up and created a high here. So it's created a high here for people to then look at taking shorts. Eager short sellers come in here. This is why we normally wait for the third drive or the third rejection. 1, 2, 3. The third didn't happen. You can see we broke through. But we obviously, looking at this early in the week, we saw this move down. Remember, we saw this move down. We saw it move back up. We saw it move back down again. Many people probably thinking we're missing out on a trade, cut on a short trade down here. But you can see here we were just in fact ranging. Using this highlighting tool, once we make a high, once we make a low, highlight the area, and you can see how price is playing out within that region and within this consolidation zone. So then price came up, and as explained on Friday, what I was expecting price to do was to come up and take out this previous high. So here, if I just get rid of this box for a moment, you can see the actual high made was here. But you can see, in general, this was the area of resistance. So as explained, was price was going to come up, take out all these early short sellers, that anyone selling in this region here would have a stop loss just above this high. Price comes up, takes that out. Now what happens with the psychology of the market is people will hold on to trades, retail traders and so on. And what they'll do is when price breaks this resistance here, if I just clear this away for a minute, once price breaks this resistance here, it'll come up, show a bit of sign that it may come down, but then have, as I explained before, have another push back up higher. If we just drop down to the 1 hour, it'll give people hope. It come down, make a low, look like it's going to push down, but then we have another push up to the upside. And even with that, as I explained, I still expect maybe possibly one more push. It depends how the market opens because of the fundamentals. But what we see many times is we have another little push back up. Sometimes to come up and just take out the previous high, but I definitely expect a little push back up here, at least in Euro USD, before we see a push back down. Possibly a Fibonacci move or something like that. So yeah, we could see this possibly extend a little bit lower, just on market open. Depends what market does, from over the weekend. But then we can expect definitely to push back up into this region, which from there we'll be looking to take a short trade back down and ride this one back down as it comes back down to make a higher low. So at the moment, it's having a bit of a short squeeze. People may still be holding this over the weekend, short sellers. What might see at the weekend is on Monday, it's a push back up. Monday, Tuesday, push back up into this level. And then from this level, we'll likely see price push back down. However, let's just go back out to the daily. We can see that the resistance up here isn't too far away, but it is a good bit away at the moment. So we do have this new weekly resistance now. We can see the weekly candle has this resistance. So this will be interesting to watch and see how this plays out next week. Now remember, we have just closed above this. So we could come back down and find some support here first, possibly. But I do definitely expect, I wouldn't be jumping in a short just yet. I do definitely expect to come back up. As I said, price could open up and push a little bit lower on market open, but I'll be watching for a retest or Fibonacci pullback or something along those lines in order to find resistance. And we need some more confirmation before looking at taking a short trade. At the moment, this is super bullish. Just go out to the daily. We can see there, you don't want to be selling against this at the moment. As here, you can see there was only one bearish day, and we can see that how bullish this has been. So this is why we're being very patient with this one. But I do believe now that we've broken up this high, that we are going to come back down and make that higher low, and then we are going to see the next big wave up of Euro USD. Now with this, I do see the US dollar recovering. So I'm just going to quickly go to the US dollar index. Now with the dollar index here, you can see, I'll just strip this back a little bit. You can see we've had a big sell-off last week. Obviously, we can see that from the charts. We can see we broke this trend line, 0.1, 0.2. We've broken clean through right now. But I think we can expect a bit of a pullback. I'm going to be watching out for this. Obviously, we have a big bearish week here and a second bearish week, so we could see a bit of a follow through. But perhaps early in the week, we might see a bit of a pullback, a bit of a sharp pullback into these regions. We've had a big push down without any pullback or any sort of support to push back. So we just broke straight through the monthly key level, dipped below lower on Friday, and I see price coming back up to make a bit of a retracement. It needs some sort of a retracement here to then continue the next wave down. So I'll be watching this. We could come back and retest the back of this trend line that we've broken here, possibly push up higher, and then we can see the next wave down on the US dollar. You can see here the first extension on my Fibonacci lining up nicely with the weekly support level 94.50 on the US dollar index. So I'm watching out for how the market opens. As I said, we could possibly push down a little bit lower, but yeah, it all depends on the market opens. There's been quite some fundamentals over the weekend, which I'll get to shortly. But I am looking for this, for a little bit of a recovery from the US dollar. Having such a big push down, I think we could see a short, sharp pullback, and then before making the next move down lower. So obviously that would obviously relay into Euro USD having a pullback down as well. But as I said, at the start of the week, we could just see that this extends slightly higher, and we could just see that the dollar index does extend this push down slightly lower. We are below this monthly key level at the moment, so we could extend slightly lower before then seeing that pull back up. So watching out for how that plays out on market open. Euro GBP, this was, I was keeping an eye on this one at the end of last week actually. Some tricky price action on this on Friday, and I'll just show you why. So just strip this back quickly, just look at this on a daily. So here we can see on the daily, we come back up, we've retested the 0.8700, had a bit of a bearish push down, then that we saw early last week, then we saw the euro strength again across all euro pairs that we saw, as you can see here. It stepped back in on Friday with Euro USD also pushing up, but you can see here that the euro has been relatively strong across all pairs. So euro strength, we had a little bit of a pullback, but then the euro strength continued to push up. Friday looked, it was going to push up and looked like it could possibly come up and take out the previous highs. I explained last week when watching this pair, we made a triple top here, but normally if we're going to see a reversal, we more than likely see price come out and try and take out the previous high. So when we came down, we could see that we came down, we had this level of resistance here, came down, had this support, pushed up, looked like we were going to come back up to the top of this resistance and possibly try and take out the highs on Friday. However, then on Friday, very late in the day, you can see here we're making this move back up. Very late in the day, this price action happened on a Friday afternoon. We fell from 0.6700 down to 0.640, 60 pips in the last 2 hours on Friday, which is quite strange in the market. As we know, it always gets quiet. So I'm interested to see how the market's going to open here and what exactly is happening. But at the moment, we can see that we are finding some resistance here. But as I said, with Euro USD, Obviously euro is very strong at the moment, so you can see this push up. We have had a pullback. This looks super bearish now with the daily shooting star candle. Let's have a quick look at the weekly here. Nice doji candle, but we can always know that with these doji candles, the next candle we could always see, on the next weekly candle we could always see maybe a possibly retest of these levels before seeing a push back down. So I'm going to be watching out for euro GBP on how the market opens once again with this. We can see here obviously looks quite nice and bearish right now, but as you saw, I did have a trend line just drawn on at the start, and we can see here we're sort of coming across here into this region with a bit of a trend line here, and we're coming into a level where we could find some support again at this level at the start of the week. So you've got a sort of area of resistance with this support, with the trend line support, and then you can see here resistance support that we had this nice spike off before. So we could run into this and then find support once again to have that little push back up, as explained with euro USD. We could also see another little push back up with euro GBP first. So you have to remember we are still in this little range here. So if I just remove this away, we could just see possibly a little push back up, maybe retest 0.8700, and from there we may be able to see a nice short trade if all these euro pairs start to push down at once as well. You can see here we've got this sort of trend line coming across the top. So yeah, I'll be interested. I'll be watching along the bottom of here, seeing if we can find support, and from this region would be an ideal area to look at taking shorts, but we need the price to develop a little bit further here. Another thing to remind ourselves here is that we are making higher highs, higher lows. We haven't made a new higher high, but this higher low hasn't been broken just yet. So I'll be watching out for that. Euro AUD, again, you can see here, late in the day, we started seeing that push down. The last hour of the market, we dropped 30 to 80. So we dropped about 50 pips on the last hour of the market. Again, quite strange. So I need to see how the market's going to open this week. Currently, we can see we've got this sort of double top area forming. And we know that overall, we're looking for short trades on Euro AUD, Euro NZD, and GBP and GBP NZD and GBP AUD trades. So here we can see that on the weekly chart, we've sort of been playing around this 1700 level last week. Bit of a hanging man possibly forming. Daily, we've had a push down, like most Euro pairs had a push down, but we had that push back up on Thursday. Friday, we had a push back up, very similar to Euro GBP, what I just said. But then on Friday, at the end of the day, we had this bit of a push down. Now, we know that we've been looking for trades on Euro AUD, and we're looking at taking a short trade on this. And I was looking at this pullback all of last week, waiting for this pullback, looking for possible short trades around here. We can see our price is quite choppy, showing some signs, then pulling all the way back up, showing some signs here, pulling all the way back up. Looked like we're going to push on, and again, as I said on Friday, looked like we're going to take out that previous high. However, then at the end of the day, we had this sudden push back down. So at the moment, we're back below 1.700. Going to monitor this on market open. But again, I still think that, yeah, well, with the way that the market closed is quite tricky. I still think we could possibly see another leg back up into this region, because as we can see here from price action, the spike to the downside, finding support here, pushed up, came back down, found some support here that we've rejected quite strongly. 1, 2, 3. And I think we can, if we don't break that, we can still find maybe the market push down and market open, but still come back up and possibly come up and retest these highs, maybe retest this high here or previous resistance. So and before making its move down. So I still favor this to the downside, but watching this area of support on market open, and I'll also be watching price from around here as a neckline. So looking for this to develop a little bit more. As I said on Friday's close, that prices of a lot of these pairs are flirting with us for entries now. We saw from last week that there was some really nice price action, but things quickly changed. As you can see here as well on the 4 hour, big push down, spike all the way back up, push back down, push back up. So double bottom here. We could see maybe this hold as support once again. So we're watching out for this, watching for euro pairs to possibly open up a little bit lower. You can see on Euro GBP, there's that little push to the downside. It can push back up. Euro GBP, Euro USD, as I said here, possibly push a little bit lower on market open. and then have a push back up before the next push down. So watching that sort of possibility on Euro AUD as well, and then be looking for the short trade on most Euro pairs. Euro NZD, so just zooming out here on the weekly time frame. Remember last week we were expecting price to break. This was like end of last week, Sniper Sundays. I highlighted this level and explained that I was watching this to come up and sort of make a fake out to the upside here. This came from, you see this fake out of this trend line here. See, this price was a fake out and push back up. Then we adjust this trend line. Well, you can see how price is now having a fake out of this trend line. So we drop down to the daily, and we had this blue level region highlighted as a strong weekly area of resistance here. We haven't quite tapped into that zone just yet. But we'll just delete this so we can have a proper look at price action here. And it's been pretty choppy again all of last week. So we can just see here, we just highlight this area with this tool. You can see here, if we just look at what price action has done for the day, it's pushed down and pushed all the way back up. Pushed down, pushed all the way back up. Bearish engulfing, signaling that price is going to move down. Like all Euro pairs, see 1, 2, 3. On the third day, we had a push down. Just go to the daily on Euro GBP. See the third day, Wednesday, we had that push down. Same as Euro USD. On Wednesday, we had that push down. Then Thursday, blew back up. Let's get to, so we had that push down. So misleading, bearish engulfing on previous two candles. And then bang, we have a push back up on Euro NZD and most Euro pairs. So this is why I see this tool highlighting it and just being patient. Very, very hard to be patient and just stand aside waiting for the market to show us something, especially when within this region there is quite a bit of movement. But you can see here, it's movement where you can get caught out. A push back up, morning star formation, then reverse back down to the downside. Then from here, morning star formation, push back up. Now it looks like it's going to push back down. So daily, we are quite choppy. We're within this range. We can still easily see this pair push back up and tap into that blue zone. Again, we may see a little push down on Euro to begin with, and then we might see it come up into that zone before a big sell-off. So I'll be watching out for that scenario next week. Euro JPY, Euro didn't have much strength against the Japanese yen last week because the Japanese yen was so strong and really pushing it down. Now here we can see on the bigger picture, we're sort of coming into the a triangle formation on this daily. Trend line touch 1, trend line touch 2. We're coming into a third touch here. Trend line across the top 4 hour, you can see we're rejected consistently. So rejection, evening star formation. So I see more downside on the start of Euro JPY as well. I still see a bit of a move down here, taking out the previous lows. But this area is going to be an interesting area around 1830 to 1850. It's going to be an interesting level because you can see here on the daily it's held as support twice before, quite strong. So as we come into that level and we come into perhaps this trend line, support is going to be an interesting level. Now I do think Japanese yen has had a big push down the last few weeks. I see that after initial push down, maybe on market open, that we could see a bit of a recovery and a bit of a retracement on Japanese yen pairs. I think we could still push back on this daily sort of trend line or this daily triangle, that we could have a nice push back up. So I am watching this to push back down on market open, maybe even a slight intraday trade to push down. Sorry guys, let me just clear this up, make this nice and clear. I've got all of these trend lines and everything quite bold to make them really stand out. But we could see possibly an intraday trade down to push this down lower, obviously depending on market open and what situation occurs. But I do think this could be possibly a nice buying area for us to buy back off this triple bottom on the daily, off this trend line support, two big confluences. I remember it's a daily, weekly trend line. So we've got a few good confluences for a nice area of support there and a ride back up towards around the 120 and possibly higher levels. Now pound had a good week last week, very good week for the pound against the US dollar. Obviously we know that's mainly because of the US dollar cutting interest rates, a bit of a shock for most, and most US dollar pairs have seen get the other pairs gains, like Euro USD, GBP USD, Aussie Dollar US Dollar, NZ Dollar US Dollar. So here we've had a bullish engulfing week for the pound. I do see this possibly, I do actually see this coming up higher. We have quite a bit of strength here at the moment. Coronavirus is problems are more important than Brexit right now. So we're seeing a retracement back up here for GBP USD. And I think we could even continue to come back up towards this region here, the second touch on this trend line. But before that, I will be looking for this to have a little bit of a pullback. And if we can get a nice pullback, I think we could be looking at long trades on pound pairs to push back up higher. So to GBP to get stronger, go back to Euro GBP, pushing back down as well, because the pound will be getting stronger. So we have to see how market opens. I would like to see a pullback in Euro GBP, and with this bullishness, I would like to see a pullback on GBP USD, just to give a nice retracement and possibly a nice entry. So I'll be watching this to pull back down to this 1.300 level, and I do see that we could come up higher with GBP USD. Remember, I was looking at this when the price was around this level to have a push up before a bigger push down. But we've had that push down now, and this could possibly be finding our base for GBP USD. So we've had a nice bullish push up. If we can find a nice little pullback from here, dependent the US dollar, if we do have that sharp reversal, we could see a nice pushback down, and then from here we could look at nice entries coming back up towards these regions. So at the moment my bias is long on GBP USD, and I will be watching out for pullbacks on these pairs. GBP JPY, I'm also looking for possible long trades on this. If we just go to the weekly here, we can see here we come a big weekly candle. You expect to continue to push down after a big bearish candle like this, engulfing all of this previous price action, which was weeks and weeks and weeks, and then we just sort of halted and had a doji candle. So that means indecision in the market and a possible change. Daily, we've seen here up, down, up, down, up, down. We've had this, obviously we know that we highlight this area like this. And then what do we look for a reversal, guys? What does price 80-90% of the time do? Takes out the previous low before making a reversal. See this candle here coming down and taking out the previous low. So we just dropped down to the 4 hour here. We can see here that we're making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower low. So we do look like, so we do have room to come up and make a new lower high. And obviously this still is quite bearish. It can roll over to the downside, but I'm still watching this. I'm watching this very, very closely to look for entries. Now, long entries. So we've taken out the previous two lows here. We'll just take this out of the way. We've taken out the previous two lows here. We had support that held here, pushed up, then we came down and broke. Now we are just below 137.50. If we break back above that, I see price that helping to us to confirm that price can move up higher, and then we have a pullback down, which we want to see. Confirm this as support. We could be looking for nice entries. So GBP JPY, I'm looking for longs at the start of next week. But again, Japanese yen, we have to see how that plays out at the start of the week. This is what's been pushing the GBP JPY down with Japanese yen strength, with the GB pound advancing against other pairs, but the Japanese yen was really had its foot on the pound's head and was keeping it underwater and pushing it down lower. But at the moment, if the Japanese yen lets off, then we could see this pop up and see this have a nice move up. So we could watching out for that nicely. GBP AUD. Now this one we've been watching out for, GBP AUD, GBP NZD as well. Keeping it nice, quite nice and clean and simple here, and just showing price action. So weekly, we had a nice push down, big push down, and then a big push all the way back up. Sort of creating this hanging man, but we also know the pound did have this big push up, and so you can see that we had some strength and the bulls are pushing this back up. Daily chart here, nice and simple, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. We broke through. We can see here, highlight this level, breakout candle, trend line strategy, breakout candle here. Couldn't break below the next day. Now we're pushing back up. So the bulls are back in control here at the moment, but then we could see on Friday again that it was starting to fail here. So we're always waiting for, last week we were looking for GBP AUD to have a push up higher. We know from the start of the week we had a big push down here. So you can see the momentum was down to the downside. So what we wanted to see is price to push back up here, look for failure, because now the bears have just stepped in, taking some control. We wanted to push back up, waiting for failure. So therefore, if I just use this as a trend line, we're waiting for price to break back up. But we have to be careful now and just keep a close eye on this. So you can see price has actually broken back above here, broke up here, continued back up higher. And we're now back in bull territory. However, we can see price is starting to fail and is struggling at these levels. So you can see here the 61.8%, price is failing to break above. We're in this sort of area, this golden area between 78.6 and the 61.8% retracement level. Price is failing here. It can't break it, can't manage to push up any higher. So we're going to watch this very, very carefully at the start of the week. Again, it all depends on market open at the moment, because anything can happen on market open where so much fundamentals are coming out at the moment. As we know, the fundamentals are really moving the market big time at the moment. So it depends on how market opens here, but we can see here lots of nice signs, lots of shooting stars to the upside, rejecting this level. Drop down to the 1 hour, we can see we've got a sort of head and shoulders formation, 4 rejections along the top here of this area. Again, on Friday, right at the end of the day, we had a little bit of a push back down, and we can see here 1 hour, really nice shooting star. So this is starting to look like it could have some nice downside momentum building, but I'll be watching this very, very closely, as I said, on market open, and keeping a close eye on this area here. At the moment, we are still bullish on this 1 hour, here, on this 1 hour trend. And in order to finish, in order to have a push down, we may just see another nudge back up from here, just to sort of, you can see here on this 1 hour trend, this is the low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, equal lower, equal higher high, failing to push up. We might just have a push up, top out the end of that 1 hour trend, and then start the new trend down. So watching this very, very closely around GBP AUD. GBP NZD is very similar situation. You can see here, keeping it nice and clean. 1, 2, 3 rejections on the trend line on the daily chart. We had that push up last week. I'll just get rid of that trend line now. You can see here, we just look like we're going to come in to possibly form a bit of a daily triangle formation. So we could have a bit of bouncing around before the bigger move. Sorry, this is on the 4 hour chart. We could have some bouncing around before the bigger move. So we could come up here, test this region here, this form of resistance, before making that move down. And yeah, I'm just going to be watching this 4 hour stroke 1 hour trend line triangle formation very, very closely. We could see a bit of a push down. We can see a little bit of a trend line coming across here as well. Drop down to the 30-minute. We've even got a triangle within a triangle. So things could get a little bit choppy here next week. But if we can see, we know that with triangles, what do they love to do before a real move? So it means that we could take advantage. It loves to make a fake out. So on the bigger 4 hour is what I'd be more interested in here. And we can see a nice fake out to the upside. We can see like a nice push up higher. Then possibly we could look at taking a short trade. But yeah, I do look at this sort of bouncing around in this area. But I'll be watching very, very closely, and just keep an eye on important levels like this. Resistance, resistance. And then we got this level here, as I said, coming through with resistance as well. Just here, you can see we're rejecting it at the moment, but we may come up, reject this trend line, reject this triangle, reject this resistance, and that could see this having its push off, creating this higher time frame, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. USD CAD. So USD CAD, I'm going to come to some fundamentals in a minute. Oil has had some fundamentals over the weekend, which looks like there could be a big weakening of oil and the price of oil. So with the weakening of the price of oil, we know what does that mean for the Canadian dollar. It means that the Canadian dollar can get weaker, or will get weaker. So at the moment, we know here on the weekly chart that we've broken out here on USD CAD, and looks like we come back down, had a retest. So this could now push up even higher. USD CAD was looking good for a short trade, showing some nice signs. But at the moment, with the current fundamentals and the higher time frame price action, you can see here we are still making higher highs, higher lows. We come back down, made an area of support here, and now we're pushing up higher. So what we were looking at, possibly looking at taking a trade, this was quite interesting last week, was the way that price action was creating this resistance here. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Nice pullback here. We had this push down. At the start of the week, I explained that I was waiting for USD CAD to push back up so I could take this short trade, or we could take this short trade. However, with the current fundamentals, I'll be wary of taking this just yet, as we do possibly have some more upside room for USD CAD to keep moving. So let's just zoom in here on the daily chart. We can see here we do have lots of nice rejection at 61.8 and 78% retracement level. However, on a higher time frame, again, you can see we sort of almost came back, retested the trend line, pushed all the way back up, and it looks like this can have the momentum to keep pushing up higher and possibly come up to this former weekly resistance level up here. If oil does weaken on market open and weaken next week, then it can push up higher. Oil was looking good at current levels, but with from possibly a trade back up, even though oil is obviously very, very weak at the moment, but it's due a retracement. But with the news that's coming out, we could see a big push lower on oil. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. So if oil pushes lower, we could potentially see lots more upside for USD CAD. So glad that we were patient with that one on Friday. Glad that we waited for that one. Glad that we waited for more price action. So had you jumped in a short trade here and the market gap's open, then you're in trouble. But here we can see we're in this sort of range. Everything was sort of lining up here, but we just didn't have enough at the end of the week to look at taking a trade. And again, that's one of the reasons, guys, that on a Friday afternoon, if something isn't 100%, I don't want us to get into a trade unless it's an intraday and we're going to close out on the day. Because unless you're in a lot of profit, especially with the current situation at the moment, unless you're in a lot of profit, it's very, very dangerous to take and hold a trade over the weekend, because there could be a big market gap here with USD CAD. So I'll get to that news in a minute once we get to oil. USD JPY. So you can see here, I've got our three trend lines on here: our long term, our outer trend line, and our inner trend line. Now we've come down to a very, very important level on USD JPY. You can see here, let's go to the weekly chart. This level that we've met before has always been met with lots of support. This once down here, big spike back here, support found once again here on the weekly, and we look like we're coming into that area again once more. We've broken through the monthly support of 106.00, and I think that price, like I said on the other Japanese yen pairs, could open up and just have a little nudge down lower. Like I said on Euro JPY, having a nudge down lower first, and GBP JPY as well, having a nudge down lower. We may see a little push up, but I want to see a nudge down lower first, and this could happen at the start of the week. Maybe make a double bottom, maybe even make a new low. But I am watching out for Japanese yen pairs to have a bit of a retracement. And with USD JPY having this big push down here after quite some time of not really doing much. Remember, this pair was really sort of stuck doing nothing for a long time. Just move all of these trend lines out of the way. So all of this price action from the 26th of August 2019 up until 2 weeks ago, so August to February, was outdone in 2 weeks. All that price action in all of those months was outdone in 2 weeks. However, we're coming down to this very, very crucial level of support. So I think that price could extend the losses here, extend this push down into this region, and from here we could look at taking a short trade, a long trade on USD JPY. At the moment, the bears are fully in control, so I do expect another rollover to the downside just yet. We just look at this on the 4 hour. This is showing signs of finding support on in no man's land, in where there isn't support. Here is support down here. This is what price tries to do, and like in the price action webinar, certain candlesticks don't mean anything to us if they're not at an area of support or resistance, because here it looks like price could be turning, but there's no reason for it to be turning here. So we drop down to the 1 hour. You can see it's quite choppy, and what we're in fact going to be doing is seeing price more than likely roll over to the downside once more, hit that level of support, then continue to consolidate around that level for quite some time, and then from there we will see price have a push up, and I'll be watching for us to possibly take a long trade from there. Again, if the trades are there for an intraday short trade down, we may take it because it is looking very, very bearish. but it all depends on how market opens. So I'll be letting you know once the market opens and we can see exactly what is happening. What have we got to next? Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, US dollar, again benefiting off the weak US dollar. A big sell-off on the US dollar last week. Again, highlighted that Aussie dollar would have a this would be fine in the bottom on Aussie dollar, US dollar. And once again, you can see here the analysis was perfect, that we've actually found the bottom there and had a big push back up. Big weekly bullish engulfing. Now, I do think that if we can come back and have a retest and find some support and then push up higher, again, like other pairs, Euro USD, I think that this is a new low on this pair, and I don't think we'll be seeing this for quite some time. I think we're going to continue to trend up higher. Now, you can see here, we've got a trend line coming across here that we are just coming into. So we've had a few bullish days on Aussie dollar, US dollar, but now we're coming into an area where we're finding some resistance. We're trying to break out of this trend line, and this is where I think we're going to find some resistance, and this pair start to slow down as well as other Aussie dollar pairs. So I'm looking for Aussie dollar to retrace, just like mentioned on other US dollar pairs. I'm looking for the US dollar to find some support and push back up, but we may just nudge up a little bit higher again on market open, possibly look at a pullback down, and then we're going to be looking at taking trades, long trades on this. However, I don't think that the rejection or the retracement may be that big on these pairs. I think we might see a retracement, but it could only be as far as sort of the 38 or 50% retracement. Here we can see that we've got a bit of a consolidation zone starting to begin with this low here. But I think we could dip a little bit lower, possibly come down to this sort of 38% retracement level, and then from here we might be able to look for long trades. But at the moment, I do see this starting to find and struggle around this level. 0.6700 is just above, but I can see this pushing back down from around these levels, as I said, and then we'll be looking for long trades. Again, we'll be looking for intraday short trades on the way down, but it all depends on how the market opens and how the US dollar behaves. Aussie dollar CAD, similar situation. So we broke out of that area here, this area, which was an area of consolidation. Big spike to the downside, put fear into the market, and then it had a big rejection and a push back up to the upside. We've been pushing up non-stop last week, push up. Didn't have a great rejection of this level, but continue to push up higher. And at the moment now, again, you can see here on a daily time frame, we're just breaking out, trying to break out of this trend line and just hitting an area of resistance. Here you can see form of support, an area of resistance, and this area here is the last lower high. So we've got lower low, actually it's up here, lower high. So this is the low low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then lower low. So we could come up, there is a room for more movement to the upside here, but again, I do see that Aussie dollar pairs, after last week's big push up higher, I can see us having a bit of a pullback. Again, may not be the biggest pullback, the biggest retracement, so we have to be on our toes and keep a close eye on this. But I see this pulling back down from around these levels here and pulling back down, possibly just to retest this broken trend line. And then we find some support, or maybe just continue a little bit lower to this sort of level of resistance, retest the form of resistance here, and then we can find, you can see how that lines up nicely with the 38.2%, and then we can be looking for long trades once again to continue this Fibonacci, which lines up perfectly the extension with the form of resistance here, which makes that a very, very nice confluence for an exit. If we can get a push down into this region, and we look for an entry around these levels. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen. So Aussie dollar, Japanese yen was the only Aussie dollar pair that didn't have a push up higher, sort of got left behind, and that was because of the strength of the Japanese yen. Now, where we're expecting Japanese yen to possibly find some support and push up higher, we could be looking for a trade from here on Aussie dollar, Japanese yen. So just look at here on a weekly. See here we have made a lower low. Highlighted this last week on last week's Sniper Sundays. See here we had this strong area here. We've made a head. Looked like we could maybe come down and make a shoulder. But we've broken down lower, which we also expected to come down and make a lower low. So lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. But on a weekly, I think we could still extend this lower high a little bit lower. let's have a look and see what has price action been doing. You can see here we've had a push down here, then we've had a small retracement back up, and then we've had the next leg down. So here, if we put a Fibonacci on this, we can see here we have just completed the Fibonacci move, so we could find some support here. As you can see here, we've completed this Fibonacci move, A, B, C, retracement, or rejection, and then came down and completed that Fibonacci move. So we are at an area of weekly support, so this is quite interesting, but again, it's all about how market opens. I'm expecting how the Japanese yen to find some support and push back up higher. However, at the moment, we will keep a close eye on this. As I said, the bears are fully in control on this one as well. We just put in this inner trend line. So we probably want to see a break above this and a retest to then look at an entry to take a long trade on this at the moment. But again, like most Japanese yen pairs, I think that we could still see another nudge to the downside. So if we see that opportunity, we may take that opportunity to ride this down for a short intraday trade. However, again, just monitoring this on market open. Longer term, I do see this also pushing up higher. But like, remember I said last week on Sniper Sundays that Aussie dollar Japanese yen and New Zealand dollar Japanase yen had that downside possibility. I think I said it 2 weeks ago. But here we can see we are starting to show some signs, but though be it very, very choppy. See here, left shoulder, head, bit of a right shoulder. So I will be watching out for around these levels and just see how we behave. But yeah, keep a close eye on that. If Aussie dollar can retrace and pull back down lower, then we might see this come down and make a new lower low. NZD USD again helped with a big push up higher with the help of the US dollar weakness. However, if we see some US dollar strength, we can see a retracement here. 4 hour, you can see I've marked out this sort of little triangle formation. On the higher time frames, you can see here we come back and hit this lower high. So we've got this on the daily. You can see here. Let me just get rid of these for the moment. On daily, we can see this daily resistance, lower low, lower high, came down, made a lower low. Now it made an equal lower high. So there is room for this to push back down to the downside. And we're finding daily resistance here at the moment. 4 hour doji showing that price is slowing down. But we will wait for this breakout of this triangle formation first. And again, what do we know that price likes to do with triangle formations? Form a fake out. So here we've got a triangle formation forming. We may see this push back up slightly into this level at the beginning of the week, and that may give us a nice opportunity to take a trade back down. But overall, we are looking at bullish trades or long trades on NZD USD. So once we see a pullback here, we will be looking for a long trade to come back up and push on and make a new high and break through that daily equal lower high here. So obviously we can expect price to find resistance, push down into this region, and once we push down, then we can look at price having a nice us taking a trade or a nice swing trade up. At the moment, again, Fibonacci, we may just extend up higher, but we may see a pushback down. We can see here this sort of area of support, resistance. This whole area is a sort of area of support and resistance. So I think we could see price come back down. These are a bit too bold, a bit too much on your screen. We might see price push down into that sort of region, just tap and go sort of thing, to come down, tap into that level, and then have a nice push off to the upside. This would also coincide with these sort of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high, higher low. Important level here, higher high, and then come down. So anywhere from these levels to here, to come down and tap into that sort of region and then bounce off to the upside. But again, what we will be watching for is a possible fake move out of this triangle formation early in the week, and we could look at taking capitalizing on trades both sides of this market. NZD CAD is sort of a similar situation here to Aussie dollar CAD and all Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar pairs. Daily inner trend line here failed to break out of it strongly on Friday. We will highlight that level, that breakout candle. We'll watch this on the lower time frames, but with that bullishness last week, we do still expect more bullishness from this pair. However, short term, we could be looking at this coming back down again, making a proper retracement. See, we've sort of taken off and not really had much of a retracement. We've taken off here, so we're going to be watching this to come back And like many of the Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar pairs, we're going to be watching for retracement back down into this region, and then we'll be looking at taking a long trade as well. But looking to capitalize on both sides of the market. Let's just put a horizontal line on here and on here, and the Fibonacci sequence. Let's just get rid of it for a minute and see what does it line up before the resistance. And look at that perfectly. Support, 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 resistance. So that sort of that Fibonacci that we've just added on there lines up perfectly with former support and resistance levels. So it's a beautiful target areas there. If we can see this push down and then look for that long trade, we can be seeing that swing trade up here to tap these levels. Look at that level of resistance, resistance, support, support, and then up here as well. Resistance, resistance, resistance. So we'll be watching out for a short trade on this first to push down. We want to see the short trade happen because we want to then get into our long trades from once we have that retracement. We want to see the long trade go back up and fulfill this Fibonacci levels, which you can see line up perfectly with former resistance. NZD JPY, similar situation to Aussie dollar, Japanese yen. Very, very similar. You can see here we've got this weekly support level. I still see some more downside on NZD JPY. So again, like I said, on all New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen pairs, I see a nudge to the downside first. You see you've got this inner trend line just really coming across here, holding price in. So at the moment we've been consolidating here. Price has been bouncing around, really done nothing. Aussie dollar, Japanese yen, and NZD JPY were just two pairs that wasn't even worth looking at last week. But here we're coming up. I can see this finding some resistance at this level and then pushing to the downside to make a new lower low and take out the previous weekly low, take out that level, and then we find a support to come in and push back up. So again, depending on the market open, but if we see an opportunity to take an intraday short trade on this, we may take it. As I expect the Japanese yen pairs to push down to begin with, and then we find some support, and then we start to see a push back up. Gold, very, very interesting. Gold, Friday was very, very interesting. So let's just show you what my thoughts are on gold at the moment. So gold's coming up and actually making new highs, previous highs in February taken out, just spiked above around the time of non-farm payroll, and towards the end of the market as well. As you can see here, 8 o'clock we push back up. So Friday, let's just have a look at what happened on Friday. So Friday we had a push up here, and let me go down to the 1 hour to be a bit more clear here. So Friday morning we broke up higher, we started to push up into this region, and we were up around the former resistance level here, just before non-farm payroll. It was a very, very interesting level just before non-farm payroll. Then non-farm payroll didn't really happen. We pushed down, then we had a quick push all the way back up, so choppiness down, up. Then we had a massive push back down to tap that 1650 level, and then ran back straight back up to resistance. But then at the end of the day, had another big drop. So these are big, big moves on gold. But so you can see here on the 4 hour, very, very choppy. So people would have got caught out here. Big 4 hour doji candle covering from 1640 all the way up to 1688. Then the last candle 4 hour at the end of the market was another sort of shooting star rejecting this level. So doji candle at the moment, what I can see happening this week is, I think at the start of the week we may see a push down on gold, but by no means do I think it's time to sell gold overall. There may be a nice little short trade down, but you can see here we had 0.1, 0.2, big spike down, fake out, push back up. So if price can't push up early in the week, what we may see on the lower time frames is price come down and fulfill this wick again. We had this big push down, we pushed up, we haven't been able to continue this push up higher. So you see we've had this big spike, big support here, then we've had a big run back up, but we fell back up at this resistance again. So the bears have stepped in once again and taken control. What I think we can see here is price to push back down into this region, 6050, 1640. Lots of people will think it's time to sell gold, but obviously it's not time to sell gold with the current situation going on throughout the world. I think we could come back down into this level, reject this level once again, and then that could be where we then push on higher and take out the previous highs. take out 1700. We could go, but it depends on how things go, guys. We could go even higher. We could go 1750. We could go 1800 on gold. So at the start of the year, I've always explained that I was expecting gold to push up higher and to see a big sell-off. That's what I saw for quite some time. However, we then had the coronavirus, and then we saw a big push back up to the upside. Bigger than expected, obviously, because no one knew that the coronavirus was coming. However, I still do see the big sell-off coming on gold later this year. And this has just been, this move up is just, I expect this to continue to push up even higher, because then the sell-off is going to be massive once it happens. So what you can imagine here is everyone's buying gold and the price is being pushed up. Panic mode is in full effect. So people are buying safe haven. If things develop and get worse throughout the world, then the demand for safe haven is going to get even bigger. Things are getting a little bit crazy and out of hand. I don't know if it happens in other countries, but even in the UK, people are panic buying things like toilet roll. Shelves are empty in supermarkets. Things are just getting people are panicking and being little bit silly. But then also that relates into the market. Investors want to keep their money safe. So what do? They're buying gold, and every time it dips, it's just a buying opportunity. So I think we can see a big push up. Then when it's pushed up and highly inflated up to these sort of regions, then everything gets better next year, towards the end of the year or later this year. What's going to happen? We're going to see a massive sell-off, where we want to be selling up here, but then on just like on the push up on gold, every time it comes down and pushes back up, on every push back up, every retracement, we want to be selling as it comes all the way back down. And then I think we could come down to those levels that I spoke about on the first week of the year. I think we could come back down, but way below the levels before the coronavirus talk even happened. Come back down to 1550, come back down to 1400 or even more. So there's beautiful trades setting up long term on gold if you just think about what is actually going on right now. So as I said, I don't think it's time to sell gold just yet. I will be looking for buying opportunities for us every time we see a push down. However, I do think that we could see a push back down into this level, 1640, 1650, reject this level once again. You can see the huge rejection here. I think we could come back down into that level and we could see a nice push up. So, but again, depends how the market opens, so we've got to see what happens here. Last thing then is oil. So oil is interesting. Oil. Daily here, we can see on this move, we had a retracement, push down, A, push down, B, retracement, C. Now we're just about to fulfill the D extension down in this region here. D extension 1, D extension 2. I'll just remove this Fibonacci for the moment. We can see here, oil is on its knees at the moment. Bears are in full control. A lot of fear in the market, but often fear is when you need to be greedy. We can see that price could potentially dip into this level, take out these previous lows. We've already taken out this previous low. But you can see here we've had a big drop from the 66 region. When we had this pushback up here at the $54 region, I explained that we could look at seeing a short to come back down. I never obviously expected to see a 10 to $4 to $12 drop completely in 2 weeks. Now we've seen a big push down here. I said there is some fundamentals. Just quickly show you here. Saudis plan big oil output hike, beginning all-out price war. Why would the Saudis deliberately crash the oil markets? There's a lot of stuff going on that you guys need to read up about. We just have a look and see what the current situation is. But yeah, there is a lot going on with oil at the moment, and we could see some gaps on market open and see a push down on oil. That's the dollar index. So I'm keeping a close eye on this. I've even had to zoom right out on a weekly chart here on oil and just see how low could we potentially go here. And we can see here that price could come back down. There's this outer trend line where we could be looking at $30 again, $30 a barrel. Price is not seen since back in 2016. But with the current situation in the market, we're seeing things happen in the market we haven't seen it in decades. So it would be not surprising at all that this could drop down lower. Very interesting to see how market opens. Can't really analyze this because there is a lot of news affecting this from over the weekend. So I'm going to be watching on how market opens. Technically, if I was looking at this technically and the fundamentals weren't playing a big part, this could be a nice area to be looking at taking a long trade from here. And it still may be. As we do have a oversold now. We've had this move down, little retracement, push down. We can see the Fibonacci moves, the Fibonacci extensions have been fulfilled. If we see this push down, extend down into this box, into this region, it could be a very nice area to look at taking maybe 2, 3, 4, 500 pip move back up to the upside, as we would need to see a new move, a new retracement back up in order to make the next leg down. Now, even if we do see this, if we are going to come down and see this $30 region, as I said, we do have to see a retracement. Every pair commodity that needs to trend. So you see here, we have to have this bit of a retracement to make the new leg down, the next leg down. Here, if we come down into this level, even if we to find some support around this region, we can expect price to come back up, make a retracement, and then from here we can look at coming back down for another leg down as well. So oil, I'm just going to stand aside on this one for the moment and just see what happens on market open. But very, very interested on that. Once I finish this, once market open happens, I will update because I think we could see some movement on market open. So just standing aside on oil for the moment, and we'll see where we can go from there. And once the market opens, this is the US dollar index as we've already covered. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that. So that's about it, guys. Quite a bit covered there. I'm looking forward to seeing what the market brings on market open. Next week fundamentally is very, very quiet. Monday there's hardly anything. Tuesday we've got a bit of New Zealand dollar news, but nothing else. Then we've got a bit of we've got the budget next week for the pound, which is quite very, very important, and the US dollar. But then apart from that, bit of news on Thursday for euro, and then nothing Friday. So it's quite quiet globally on the fundamental economic calendar. But we know that doesn't matter at the moment because there's these sort of things are not really taking much effect on the market because the coronavirus is more important and having a stronger hold on the market. So we'll see what this week brings. See if this we'll be watching Euro USD carefully as mentioned. But yeah, there's quite a few trades that look like they're lining up. So we'll be watching very, very closely. And as I said, watch the market open from Sunday evening because there could be a few moves from the market open straight away. That's our bias for the week. That's our plan. That's what we're going to be watching out for now to be patient and execute this week. Have a great evening, guys, and I will speak to you on market open. Thank you.